Cool.
Hi, I'm Shirley Farrar, and this is On the Spot Career Talk. And we're here today with Kyra Author. Hi, Kyra. Am I saying your name right?
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. So, we want you to start to identify, first of all, what is your current occupation?
Hmm.
And I also want you to identify the school you went to.
Okay.
And then we're going to start talking about maybe how you actually got there.
Okay. So I am currently a digital media strategist. I own my own company, which is called Kaizen Social. I'm sure we'll dive into that a little bit later. I got my bachelor's degree at Rutgers University in New Jersey in communications and digital media studies, and I'm currently pursuing my master's of science in digital social media at the University of Southern California.
Wonderful. How did this all start for you?
It's interesting because I was always somebody growing up in K through 12 education that I didn't really care too much to go to college. It wasn't that I thought college was bad, but there's lots of resources where you can see tons and tons of majors, and I never found anything that was appealing to me. And I think it was probably just because I hadn't spent, enough time with myself and what it is I was interested in because I was young. And so, yeah, growing up, I never really intended on going to college, and last minute, some things kind of changed around. And honestly, through the struggle of trying to figure that out, that's how I came to realize that, my niche and what it is that I'm passionate about is my outlet rather is digital marketing. So I went the avenue of communication and media studies to get there.
Nice. Now you said the struggle. What does that mean?
Yeah. So I think, a lot of people underestimate the college experience. I think growing up, something that I heard people say a lot was always, like, you don't even know what struggle is like yet because you have, your whole life ahead of you. And I think it's an unfair assessment to assume that age automatically equates to experience. I think a lot of us, for uncontrollable reasons, have been experienced and have had to, mature a little bit earlier. And
Right.
so to that, I think the point that I'm trying to make here is that I was trying to find myself and figure out what career path worked for me while also dealing with all of the other things I had going on in my life. And so I think my perspective was a little bit different because I didn't have the luxury of, once I graduate, going back home until I figure it out. So I had to really go through all the emotions and really feel everything to be able to get to where I am now. Because, like I said, I didn't have a huge like support system from my immediate family, and I also didn't have, like I said, just the luxury of being able to take a couple years to try and figure it out. So
Right. So if you're saying the support system, what did that look like for you? What was it? Mentors? Uh,
hmm.
how did that, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I would say my support system throughout college has been my peers, friends that I've been friends with for years, people who I admire in the industry. Once I got further into my career, my support circle for sure has been people that I admire. I consider myself to be a young Black creative. So most of the people that I spend time talking to are young Black entrepreneurs who have launched their own businesses, and whether they work full time for themselves or they, partially work corporate and then they partially work for themselves. I really take interest in learning, about their experiences in the industry, especially being a young person, how you can kind of, come out and start on top rather than, you know, going through the trial and error. We've grown up, and as Black women and as Black people, we've been built in a society that tells you that in order to be successful, you have to do such and such. But understanding that through our passions and through the things that, come natural to us, we can really have great impact and great success with. So it's just about learning how to implement them and how to make it work for you.
Right. Now I'm going to always ask this question of anyone that I'm interviewing,
Hmm.
who's on their process, I'll say that, into becoming that person that they already know they are.
Yeah.
Um, for you, growing up, now I'm considered a career counselor in
Right.
higher education,
Hmm.
but in the school system, I would be considered a professional school counselor or a guidance counselor.
Right.
Tell me about your experience with your guidance counselors.
Yeah, so my high school guidance counselor, her and I are actually still to this day, we communicate frequently. She was a really pivotal person in my high school experience because, as I said, I just didn't really have the same experience as a lot of my peers at that age. So she really helped to kind of hold me accountable and just help me figure it out. I would say prior to that, I think there's something to be said about the Black experience in, like predominantly white institutions. And I think that's something that we can't ignore. And I don't think that that's a negative or a positive thing. But what I do think is that it's intriguing, as I said, having a different experience from a lot of your peers growing up, when a lot of your counselors or your teachers and a lot of the people who are in your education hierarchy aren't people that can really relate or understand to what it is that you're going through. And I think a lot of times the solutions that they propose aren't practical. So I was blessed that when I got to high school, I had, like I said, my guidance counselor who really was able to see me and understand the struggle and understand, like the need to figure it out,
Right.
while also understanding the lack of time. So that was really impactful for me.
Right. So you say that you had to figure it out. Help the community understand. Did you have your plan all mapped out before you came out of, once you came out of high school, it was all mapped out, you knew exactly what you were going to do?
If my life looked anything like the plan I had, it would be completely different. My plan really cultivated through my undergraduate experience, and that's why I keep expressing things like saying the struggle and kind of figuring it out, because for me and my company, our mission statement is really to help hustlers launch impactful businesses. And the reason being is because I think there's really beauty in having to figure that experience was very character building. And so for me, my plan was executed unintentionally through my undergraduate experience. I went into undergrad pursuing degrees that I thought would equate to well-paying jobs, not understanding that without the passion piece, it doesn't work that way. And not understanding that you can be smart. You being smart has nothing to do with pushing through curriculum that doesn't, work towards you and your goals. And so I would say throughout undergrad, I was really following this path of just what is going on, and just actually withdrew from a semester. I had got to a point where my grades were horrible. They weren't reflective of me as a student and my work ethic, and I was aware of that. And I recognized that I was in a point where I felt like I had lost control. So the step for me, and I think this was really where my transition period started, was when I withdrew. And so when I withdrew from that semester, that was the fall of my junior year. That time period allowed me the space and opportunity to weigh out all of my different options without having the responsibilities and like the social construct of something that wasn't working for me. And as a result, when I came back in the spring, I was on the dean's list. I was in my communications major and everything. It was a complete different transgression. And so when I had asked a few of my peers, few people who were, older and wiser, and people who have families and things of that nature, a lot of them told me not to withdraw from school. And so that's what I mean when I say, I think in the planning process, when you start to tap into understanding that at the end of the day, it's just you and God. And so, really understanding that I'm the only person that can make the best decisions for myself, and I have to trust my instinct. And that was, I think, one of the first monumental moments where I really trusted my instinct. And we see now, years later, how it really paid off.
Your story is phenomenal. I think it's going to encourage a lot of, young people and older people when you're processing through, staying focused, knowing the goals that you need to have in your life, your support systems. So now we have you discussing with us your journey where you are now. Tell me all about what it is you do.
Okay. Working for someone else has never been for me, for practical reasons and for, other reasons. But I currently am in the process of launching my own company. It's, like I said, a digital strategy company. And this process cultivated from me recognizing, like, listening to my own voice and following through with that. And so now I'm in a place where I'm a full-time student, and I'm also working on developing relationships with clients while also trying to build a company rather than building a small brand or a business.
Let's say I wanted to, receive your services.
I offer two main services that I really specialize in, which are strategy and then social media management. So I would say in your case, if you're advertising this particular service, if you already have an idea of what it is that you want to do and you feel like you have the execution plan, the best alternative for you would probably be the social media management. It would be the digital launch and the execution. So for instance, if you're doing something that's career related, understanding that you would benefit more from using a social network like LinkedIn rather than developing a Twitter account. That's not to say you don't need a Twitter account, but just understanding the ways in which people act on these social platforms. And if you were a little bit earlier in and you hadn't completely figured out your idea, the best service would be a strategy call. So we could either do a one and done strategy call where that would be like a 1 hour call we set up, or we could do a 6-week coaching plan where every week you and I would meet and I would basically be fully invested into your business and be researching and bringing you tools in order for you to bring your business to life. And hopefully by the end of that 6 weeks, you will have, a very good handle on what it is you need to do, and you'll hopefully have already done it.
What is the next step of building this brand that you have?
Really looking at it from a managerial perspective, my passion has always been to help people who look like me and who come from communities like me have access to the resources I've been blessed to have access to. And what that means for me is more than just showing you that if I can do it, you can do it. It's employing people. It's, providing programs within the communities. And so really just looking at it from a bird's eye view and figuring out, what is it that we really want to accomplish and impact long term, and what is the best solution to. For instance, I have a newsletter rolling out right now, and I've been blessed to be able to hire my cousin to manage the newsletters because he actually just received this semester his bachelor's degree in journalism from Rutgers as well. And so being able to allow him that space to use his journalistic view while also being able to provide him with a job it means a lot to me. And I know that, in the coming years, this will hopefully just get more expansive.
That's the end of our interview. And I want to say thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So this is On the Spot Career Talk, and we are signing out.